Every time Nickelodeon's Avatar circulates through social media, there is always inevitably some pitting battle between The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. So I thought this would be a good time to add on more to the discourse. Aang and Korra are actually a lot more similar than people give credit. There are definitely things that Aang could handle and Korra couldn't, and vice versa. But the common denominator is how avatars now have a lost sense of childhood. Avatars were supposed to be told at 16 years old of their fate and then venture out into the world to train in all four elements. Unfortunately, extenuating circumstances necessitated breaking that tradition to preserve the Avatar cycle. With Aang's case, it was the impending genocide of his people, and with Korra, she was already bending 3 of the 4 elements as a toddler, which put a target on her back. While likely nothing could have been done about all of those outside forces, the end result was still traumatic of robbing Aang and Korra of normal childhoods and making them take on far too much responsibility than they could emotionally handle. Not only was Aang racing against the clock with Sozin's Comet to pick up some training of the rest of the elements, but he struggled to accept that he wasn't at fault for his people's demise. Not to mention having to compromise on the pacifism that he grew up with to save the world. This is why I don't care about the arguments about whether or not he should have offed Ozai, because he's not had the luxury to really process through how messy the world has become in the 100 years that he was away. Especially compared to his peers who have only known a world at war their entire lifetimes. And on the other end of the spectrum, Korra had all of her training brought to her in a very sheltered environment, and left her so unprepared for the real world that she doesn't think to go to Republic City with, money in her pocket to buy food. Her severe inexperience with reality's unpredictability set her up for gifted child burnout, which constantly put her in a whirlwind of anxiety anytime she dealt with the concept of failure. In trying to balance the world, we now have unbalanced avatars who can't lead normal lives and peacekeepers at the same time. And with the cycle repeating again in the Earth Kingdom, only time will tell if these adults have actually learned their lesson to let the avatars be kids first, or if they're going to start that traumatic shit all over again.